Hermano Petri, et novelis directionem principis apostolorum, directionem tuam et ecclesiam laborari. Ad honorem Dei Omnipotentis et Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli, tibi committimus diaconiam Sanctorum Cosme et Damiani, in nomine Patris et Filii Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
I cardinali sono diciamo, degli stretti collaboratori del Papa, ecco, quindi normalmente vengono definiti come i consiglieri del Papa, quindi hanno un rapporto molto stretto e molto diretto con il Santo Padre. Ora, alcuni di loro, come nel mio caso e come nel caso di tanti altri colleghi, lavorano qui nella Curia Romana, quindi prestano un servizio diretto al Papa come capi dei vari dicasteri, delle varie istituzioni. Altri invece sono a capo di diocesi, ecco, di diocesi nel mondo. Il Santo Padre li nomina appunto cardinali facendoli i suoi consiglieri. Svolgono questo ruolo quando il Papa, ecco, ritiene opportuno sentire il loro parere. Ci sono delle forme, diciamo, istituzionali di consultazione che sono i cosiddetti concistori, ecco, in cui il Papa convoca i cardinali, oppure adesso molto spesso questo avviene anche attraverso la formula del Sinodo dei Vescovi, al quale partecipano molti cardinali. E poi evidentemente al di là del loro ruolo specifico c'è un ruolo, come dire, di esemplarità, ecco, che deve essere sottolineato, proprio perché collaboratori diretti del Papa devono veramente essere dei modelli e degli esempi del gregge, come direbbe la parola di Dio, la Sacra Scrittura. E del resto nella formula, diciamo, o nel rito di nomina di un cardinale c'è proprio un impegno di fedeltà al Papa e di essere disposti ad offrire la propria vita, il proprio sangue anche a servizio della Chiesa. E questo è il senso anche del colore rosso che i cardinali, delle vesti dei cardinali.
Il-kardinalat huwa l-ogħla grad fil-Knisja Kattolika. Huwa inferjuri biss jiġi għall-Papa li huwa l-Prinċep tal-Apostli. Il-Kardinal huwa l-eqreb prelat, il-konsulent tal-Papa li jtieħ pariri sabiex imexxi il-Kurja Rumana kif ukoll il-Knisja Universali.
Il cardinalato ha come origine il clero di Roma. Tutti i cardinali, attualmente sono poco meno di 200, ma in conclave entrano soltanto quelli di età inferiore agli 80 anni, quindi sono grosso modo attualmente 120, che è il numero massimo fissato da Paolo VI. Ebbene, i cardinali tutti, di per sé, simbolicamente, sono membri del clero di Roma. Quindi tutti i cardinali hanno un cosiddetto titolo, che è una chiesa di Roma, piccola o grande, che è la loro chiesa, come se fossero i parroci, i sacerdoti di questa chiesa. A me, per esempio, è toccata una chiesa molto importante, molto bella, cara ai romani soprattutto per i matrimoni, e si trova vicino al Campidoglio. Si chiama San Giorgio in Velabro ed è stato il titolo cardinalizio di un celebre teologo, filosofo inglese dell'Ottocento, che è stato canonizzato da Papa Francesco.
Newman.
John Henry Newman. E quindi lui era diventato membro della Chiesa di Roma in quella particolare chiesa.
L-oriġini tal-kardinali tmur lura għal madwar 1000 sena ilu, bejn is-sena 1050 u s-sena 1059 wara Kristu. Minn dakinhar, il-grupp ta' kardinali jew kulleġġ tal-kardinali ġie assenjat lilhom l-akbar dritt li hu li eleġġu l-Papa, is-suċċessur ta' San Pietru. U wara ġew assenjat il-kompitu li jikkollaboraw u jassistu lill-Papa fi kwistjonijiet importanti u delikati, inkluż il-governanza mhux biss tal-Knisja ta' Ruma imma wkoll tal-Knisja Universali. Il-kardinalat bħala istituzzjoni jmur lura għar-4 seklu wara Kristu, fi żmien il-pontifikat tal-Papa San Silvestru l-Ewwel, l-istess Papa li mexxa l-Knisja waqt il-Konċilju ta' Niċea li ta' permess lil Kostantinu biex jibda jibni l-knejjes il-kbar f'Ruma, inkluż il-Bażilika ta' San Pietru fuq il-Kolle Vatikane. Dan jista' jinsab faċilment fuq il-Liber Pontificalis. Dan is-suċċessur ta' Pietru mexxa l-Knisja Universali bejn is-snin 314 u 335 wara Kristu. Għalhekk f'dak iż-żmien, dak l-istess Papa kien diġà jinvolvi qassisin Rumani fil-governanza tal-Knisja Universali. Dan huwa estremament sinifikanti. Illum il-kulleġġ tal-kardinali huwa mxerret mad-dinja kollha u magħmul minn personalitajiet ekleżjastiċi u kattoliċi rinomati u ta' diversi nazzjonalitajiet.
L-ewwel xogħol tal-kardinal huwa li jeleġġi Papa kemm minn dawk li qegħdin fil-konklavi kif ukoll jistgħu jeleġġu kardinal li jkun għal 80 sena allura jkun esklus mill-konklavi.
Fil-kulleġġ tal-kardinali, wieħed isib taħlita ta' esperjenza vasta bejn saċerdoti djoċesani u membri ta' ordnijiet reliġjużi li jservu madwar id-dinja.
Iċ-ċurkett tal-kardinali huwa wieħed partikolari għall-aħħar. Ġeneralment, fuq quddiem, fuq il-wiċċ taċ-ċurkett, ikun hemm San Pietru u San Pawl, il-prinċep tal-Apostli u l-Apostli tal-Ġnus, u ħafna drabi jkun hemm stilla imnaqxa ħdejhom li tissimbolizza lil-Sitna Marija. Min ġewwa taċ-ċurkett ikun hemm l-isem tal-Papa li jkun ikkrea kardinal lil dak il-kandidat għall-kardinalat, kif ukoll ikun hemm id-data tal-konċistorju, id-data ta' meta dak il-kandidat għall-kardinalat jingħata l-kardinalat.
Yeah, the ring of a cardinal, every bishop, the wearing of a ring is not limited to cardinals. Okay, the wearing of a ring becomes part of your life when you ordain or made a bishop. Okay, part of the ordination service includes the bestowal on you of a ring. It's just to express your own personal commitment and dedication to the church. If you want, just as in civil society or civil life, the exchange of ring takes place at marriages and all of that, it expresses a particular dedication or union of the bishop to the church, as it were married to the church. From that point on, in the name of Christ, for whom the church is a spouse, that's the relationship that has been built with the ordination of a bishop and so the bestowal of the ring on you. And so when you are a cardinal, you continue to wear this ring because you are essentially also a bishop. We know, okay, essentially a bishop, and we probably have to insist and stress that. because cardinals are not ordained. There's no ordination for a cardinal. So the cardinal nominating is not an order.
It's a title.
It's a title. Okay, ordination happens to deacons, to priests, and to bishops, but not to a cardinal. So you're now constituted in another order higher than being a bishop. So to be ordained a bishop, that's what it is. There's nothing beyond being an apostle. Okay, beyond an apostle is Jesus. And there's nothing beyond the apostle, so there's no other order beyond that of bishops. So cardinals, therefore, the wearing of ring, they started wearing when they were bishops. And they keep wearing that ring about their relations with the church from that point on.
Il-Papa jista' jaħtar kardinali lil isqfijiet, assisin u reliġjużi li ma laħqux l-età ta' 80 sena u li għalhekk isiru membri bid-dritt tal-vot fil-kulleġġ tal-kardinali, jew prelati li għandhom aktar minn 80 sena u bekk mhumiex intitolati li jivvutaw fil-kulleġġ tal-eletturi, kif tindika l-ittra apostolika tal-Papa San Pawlu VI taħt il-forma ta' motu proprio, in gravescentem etatem, ippubblikata fil-21 ta' Novembru 1970.
Sa mill-pontifikat ta' Pawlu VI, il-Papa Pawlu VI, wara li kien għamel dik il-motu proprio in gravescentem etatem, il-Knisja bdiet tikkrea kardinali ad honorem ukoll x'ikunu. Ikunu kardinali ta' prelati, saċerdoti, reliġjużi li jkunu għal 80 sena, allura ikunu meta jsiru kardinali jkunu esklużi minn konklavi, imma minħabba is-servizz impeccabli li jkunu taw lill-Knisja Kattolika, il-Papiet sabiex jirrikonoxxu s-servizz tagħhom itwhom it-titlu kardinalizzju. Hekk irrid nagħti eżempju bħal meta il-Papa Benedittu XVI kien għamel lill-Kardinal Malti Prospero Grek, li meta kien sar kardinal kellu 86 sena.
Il-terminu kardinal huwa kelma medjovali li oriġinat mill-kelma Latina cardo jew cardonis li tfisser ċappetta, ċentru jew punt ta' referenza. Il-terminu inizjalment intuża l-saċerdoti għal dawk li huma assenjati u nkardinati b'mod permanenti għall Knisja Episkopali, fi kliem ieħor djoċesi ewlenija. Aktar tard, it-terminu kardinal ġie applikat għal kleru, is-saċerdoti f'Ruma, li kienet iċ-ċentru, il-fulkru, mhux biss tad-djoċesi iżda tal-Knisja Universali. Il-kulleġġ tal-kardinali jiffunzjona bir-regoli konkreti u preċiżi tiegħu stess. Li wħud minnhom imorru lura mijiet ta' snin. Fis-seklu li għadda, il-Knisja ridet tadatta l-kulleġġ tal-kardinali u r-regoli tiegħu għal żminijiet moderni. Il-Knisja stabbiliet ċerti bidliet li wħud minnhom huma estremament importanti.
I livelli però sono 3, come accade in una diocesi. C'è il vescovo coi suoi ausiliari, i vescovi ausiliari. E naturalmente il vescovo di Roma ha alcuni pochi cardinali che sono cardinali vescovi. Di solito hanno il titolo proprio delle cittadine vicino a Roma, Ostia, Velletri, Palestrina. Ecco, portano questo titolo un po' più esteso, i cardinali vescovi. Poi ci sono i cardinali presbiteri, secondo livello, a cui appartengo anch'io. Sono quelli che di solito hanno una città importante di cui sono cardinali loro. Il cardinale, per esempio, un cardinale di New York, un cardinale di Mumbai, poniamo, di solito è cardinale presbitero qui a Roma. oltre a loro anche noi di curia diventiamo cardinali presbiteri quando arriviamo dopo 10 anni di cardinalato. Secondo livello. C'è un terzo livello, il più basso, che è quello dei cardinali diaconi. Per esempio il cardinale Grech è un cardinale diacono perché è appena giunto nell'interno della curia romana. Di solito i cardinali diaconi sono i cardinali della curia romana.
Il-kardinalat jirrifletti l-ordni ministerjali li waqqaf Ġesu Kristu fid-dinja. Fil-fatt il-kardinalat huwa magħmul minn 3 ordnijiet. Il-kardinali sfiqijiet jirrappreżentaw l-episkopat, jirrappreżentaw l-isfiqijiet kollha tad-dinja. Il-kardinali fl-ordni tal-presbiteri jirrappreżentaw l-saċerdoti kollha tad-dinja u l-kardinali diakni jirrappreżentaw l-djakni kollha tad-dinja. Fil-passat, il-Knisja Kattolika kien ikollha 6 kardinali fl-ordni tal-isqijiet li dawn is-6 kardinali kienu jmexxu is-7 knejjes suburbikarji f'Ruma jew fil-periferija ta' Ruma. Is-sede ta' dawn il-knejjes suburbikarji jinsabu f'Ostia, Albano, Frascati, Palestrina, Velletri Senji, Porto Santa Rufina u Sabina Poggio Mirtieta.
Id-dekan tal-Kulleġġ tal-Kardinali huwa responsabbli għas-sede allokata oriġinali tiegħu u jmexxi wkoll il-Knisja Suburbikarja ta' Ostia. Din l-ordni tal-Kardinali tinkludi wkoll il-Patriarki tal-Knejjes Kattoliċi tal-Lvant. Illum, il-Kardinal Giovanni Battista Re huwa d-dekan tal-Kulleġġ tal-Kardinali.
Il-knejjes suburbikarji kif diġà għedt huma 7. Kif ġew maħluqa daw il-knejjes suburbikarji? Daw il-knejjes suburbikarji jafu l-bidu tagħhom lill-Apostlu Pietru. Meta Pietru wasal mill-Palestina, ma marx jipprietka fiċ-ċentru ta' Ruma għax kellu ftit biża' li seta' jaqbdu Neruni u jgħaddim il-martirju ta' uman li kien. Allura prova jisu bħal jaħrab il-Neruni ma xorta jagħmel ix-xogħol tiegħu. U kien ipprietka l-ewwel żminijiet tiegħu fil-periferija ta' Ruma u waqqaf 7 komunitajiet ta' Nsara. Dawn is-7 komunitajiet ta' Nsara huma dawn is-7 knejjes suburbikarji tal-lum. Ġifieri, għalhekk il-kardinali sfiqijiet huma daqshekk ta' rwol prestiġjuż għax jafu l-bidu tagħhom lill-Apostlu Pietru.
Il-Kardinali Presbiteri huma dawk l-aktar responsabbli għal arċidjoċesi strateġikament importanti madwar id-dinja, filwaqt li l-Kardinali Djakni jiservu fil-kongregazzjonijiet, is-segretarjati u l-Kunsilli Pontifiċi tal-Kurja Rumana. Skont il-liġi kanonika, Kardinal Djaknu wara 10 snin li jkun ilu jservi f'dan ir-rwol jista' jikteb lill-Papa biex jelevaha l-Kardinal fl-ordni tal-Presbiteri. Fis-seklu 16 waqt il-pontifikat tal-Papa Sistu V, il-Knisja kellha madwar 70 kardinal. Fis-seklu 20, San Giovanni Pawlu II olla n-numru ta' kardinali li jivvutaw f'konklavi għal 120. Matul waħda mill-aħħar konċistorji tiegħu, in-numru ta' elettori mara l-rekord ta' 143 kardinal bid-dritt tal-vot. L-internazzjonalizzazzjoni tal-Kulleġġ tal-Kardinali bdiet bl-espansjoni tal-evanġelizzazzjoni ta' diversi pajjiżi, mhux biss Ewropej jew Taljani, iżda wkoll pajjiżi mill-kontinenti l-oħra. Wieħed seta' jinnota t-tixrid tal-Evanġelu kif ukoll l-espansjoni tal-Knisja u għalhekk kien meħtieġ li dawn ir-realtajiet ekklesjastiċi u missjonarji ġodda jiġu espressi anke fil-livell tal-kulleġġ tal-kardinali. Il-Beatu Piju IX kien l-ewwel papa li ħoloq kardinali mhux Ewropej mill-Istati Uniti u l-kontinent Amerikan. Imbagħad Piju XII, fiż-żewġ konċistorji li kellu matul it-19 sena tiegħu bħala papa, olla 14 l-isqof Taljan kif ukoll 42 isqof ieħor minn madwar id-dinja. Xorta, sal-invenzjoni tal-ajruplan, il-kardinali maħluqa mill-aktar postijiet remoti tad-dinja ma rnexxilhomx jaslu fil-ħin biex jitfgħu il-vatt tagħhom f'konklavi papali fil-Kappella Sistina.
Fl-aħħar 194 sena, Malta kellha 3 kardinali li kienu ta' nazzjonalità tagħha huwa Maltin. Dan l-aħħar il-Papa ikkrea lill-Kardinal Mario Grech li fl-età tiegħu għad irid jidħol f'konklavi. It-tieni kardinal kien il-Kardinal Prospero Grech li kif diġà spjegajt il-Papa Benedittu XVI kien ikkrea ad honorem minħabba is-servizz kbir u impeccabli li tal il-Knisja. Però l-ewwel kardinal, Fabrizio Ceberras Testa Ferrata, dana meta sar kardinal kienet kellu età ta' 60 sena. U dan il-kardinal fl-1816 ġi kreat kardinal impectore fil-Moħbi mill-Papa Piju VII u daħal għal 3 konklavi. Fl-1818 dan il-kardinal ġie mħabbar allura ma baqax fis-sigriet sar jafrih kulħadd u 5 snin wara fl-1823 daħal l-ewwel konklavi u vvota fil-konklavi li eleġġa lil Papa il-Jum 12. Ivvota fil-konklavi tal-1829 li eleġġa lil Papa Piju VIII u mbagħad ivvota fit-tielet u l-aħħar konklavi tiegħu fl-1830 u 31 għax il-konklavi beda f'Diċembru tal-1830 u spiċċa fi frar tal-1831. Dakinhar li l-kardinali kienu eleġġew lil Papa Gregorju XVI. Dan il-kardinal Fabrizio Ceberras Testa Ferrata miet fl-1843 u serva fil-Kurja Rumana bħala segretarju tal-Kongregazzjoni għall-Isfijiet, serva wkoll nunzju apostoliku għall-Iżvizzera u fl-aħħar ta' ħajtu kien l-isqof ta' Senigalja.
Il-Papa Benedittu XVI ħoloq kardinal lil Patri Agostinjan magħruf ħafna, Fader Prospero Grech, li kien il-fundatur tal-Agostinjanum u serva wkoll għal bosta snin bħala konsultur fil-Kongregazzjoni għad-Dottrina tal-Fidi. Huwa kien ġie kreat bħala kardinal mingħajr vot billi fil-jum tal-kreazzjoni tiegħu kellu 86 sena. Matul l-aħħar konċistorju għal kreazzjoni tal-kardinali ġodda, il-Papa Franġisku ikkrea kardinal lill-Isqof Għawdex, Monsignor Mario Grech, li fi żmien tal-pubblikazzjoni ta' ismu kien diġà qed iservi fil-Kurja Rumana bħala is-Segretarju Ġenerali tas-Sinodu tal-Isfijiet. Il-Kardinal Grech huwa kardinal fl-ordni ta' djakni u bid-dritt tal-vot.
So it was a very big group, okay? And not only the size, the other particular feature of this consistory was that it happened to have been the last consistory of John Paul II. You know, in those days he was sick, badly sick, and normally during the ceremony, you know, where the Pope was supposed to put the biretta on the head of the cardinal, he couldn't even get to that. He could barely lift it and you had to receive it and put it on your own head. So it was a big group, happened to have been the last one of John Paul II. So, you know, I've learned to tell the story then that we were the Benjamin of John Paul II, the last born, okay, of Pope John Paul II. But that being the case, this also meant that, it was I don't say it was opportunity, but it also meant that we had to participate in the next conclave. Okay, when he died 2 years after, this was 2003. In 2005, he died, and then the preparation for a new conclave meant that we had to participate in the new conclave. So a few things became to happen in my life which were significant as the first of its kind. Ordained a bishop in 1993, the announcement of the First African Synod in 1994 meant that as a young cardinal, just ordained 1 year old, I had to participate in that synod. It was the first experience of a synod, and I was only a year old as a cardinal. And to my utmost surprise, at this synod, I happened to have been invited to give the first reflection at the opening of the synod. Okay, so that thought has stayed with me because it was significant. Same thing happened now, named cardinal. Then the issue of a conclave comes up because John Paul II died shortly after our nomination, and then was the conclave to elect Benedict XVI, giving me the first opportunity to participate in the conclave.
Għalhekk, wara li l-Papa jħabbar l-ismijiet tal-kardinali l-ġodda, ikun hemm l-ordinazzjoni episkopali. F'każijiet eċċezzjonali, pereżempju, prelati anzjani li diġà għandhom aktar minn 80 jew 90 sena, il-Papa jista' jagħtihom deroga sabiex ma jingħatawx ordinazzjoni episkopali.
If you ask me what went through me, it was an ordinary day. I left the Archbishop's house, was going to the office for normal work, and then I got a message from the nunciature. The nuncio wanted to talk, with me, personal phone call or whatever. And he told me that he was inviting me to Accra. I was in the diocese, which was about 3 hours from the capital on the coast. And so he was inviting me to the capital where the nunciature is. And then he was the first one to tell me because he wants to do a press conference. And the press conference was about my nomination as a cardinal. It was a big surprise. Big surprise, but not terribly big, because I knew of some missionaries who thought that, there could be a cardinal from Ghana, okay? But they were older bishops than me. So I never thought that it was anything that was going to come my way. Some bishops were there who even were my seminary teachers. Okay, so talk about somebody becoming a cardinal. The older ones are there. The fathers in the faith, if you want, were there. So this therefore was a little bit of a surprise. And so I did go. The only thing that could have tipped the scale in one way or the other was for the fact that the diocese where I was Archbishop of was the primate see. That was the first church in Ghana or in the Gold Coast. It was where the Portuguese landed first in 1482. It was where later on the SMA missionaries began work in 1880. And so the church in Ghana, in the southern part of Ghana at least, began from my diocese. So this was the primate see. So if you were thinking about doing something that recognized the history of the Catholic Church in Ghana, then you would have to come to my diocese, okay? With all the historical remnants of the colonial past and everything was there. Then at one point, at the tenure of this particular nuncio, we got the idea to request that the first missionary church in Ghana, which was in the south, be declared a minor basilica. Okay, and so graciously this was accepted, and we equipped this first church in the diocese to become a minor basilica. So that kind of raised the diocese, the prominence of the diocese a little bit into some wider, for focus. And so it was surprised. because it was the first time that anything like that was going to happen to Ghana. Okay, we've had archbishops, the first that accompanied the independence of Ghana and African states, but never they thought about a cardinal. So it was the surprise stayed with me. So got to Accra, the nuncio did a huge press conference, announced that the Holy Father, whatever, recognizing everything of Ghana. And then I remember something. A few months before, the nuncio had asked me to do a historical profile of the Archdiocese. I did it. I thought it was just needed to upgrade his records. But later on, by hindsight, I think that was the type of thing that he used to probably convince the Pope that Ghana, from the history of whatever type of needed a cardinal, and that the cardinal could come from the place of origin, okay, of the Catholic Church. So it did happen, and between surprise, between sense of joy at the fact that the historical status of the diocese had been recognized, and that where the Catholic Church began in Ghana was now a thing of world recognition. It was a mixture of all of these different moods and sentiments.
Imbagħad ikun imiss il-kreazzjoni tal-kardinali fil-konċistorju. Matul il-konċistorju, il-kardinali ġdid jingħata l-kariga mill-Papa li hija dik ta' ordni ta' djakni jekk iservu fil-Kurja Romana jew inkella fl-ordni tal-Presbiteri jekk iservu bħala metropoliti. Il-kardinali kreati ġodda jingħataw ukoll titlu jew djakonat ta' Knisja f'Ruma għas-simboliżmu. Fil-bidu, meta l-kardinali ma kinux jeżistu, il-Pontefiċe Ruman kien ikun elett mis-saċerdoti ta' Ruma. Il-konċistorju jiġi ċelebrat fil-Bażilika ta' San Pietru madwar is-sitt ġimgħa wara l-aħbar inizjali tal-Papa. Dan sabiex il-kardinali eletti ikollhom ħin lestu għall-ilbies kardinalizzju. Papa li jkun għadu kif ġie elett jikkrea l-ewwel kardinal tiegħu minuti wara li hu jkun elett Papa. Fil-fatt, kif iċ-ċerimonjer liturġiku papali jieħdu fil-kamra ta' dmuħ biex jinża l-abiti ta' kardinal u jilbes dawk papali, waqt li jkun qed isegwi dan il-protokoll jinża żukkettu ħamrani minn rasu u jpoġġih fuq ras is-segretarju tal-konklavi, li dejjem ikun is-segretarju tal-kongregazzjoni tal-isqfijiet. Ismu mbagħad jiġi ppubblikat meta l-Papa l-ġdid jiddeċiedi li jħabbar l-ewwel konċistorju tiegħu għal kreazzjoni ta' kardinali ġodda. Normalment, ismu jkun pożizzjonat l-ewwel fuq il-lista.
Jiena wara li ħabbar mit-tieqa ta' San Pietru kelli diġà udjenza pjanata miegħu il-ħamis ta' wara. U naturalment mort, tajjeb. Ringrazzjajtu, imbagħad qalli isma' qalli li semmejtek l-ewwel wieħed ma tfisser xejn. Ġifieri għallax hawn ħafna teoriji u ħafna għax tal-ewwel u mhux tal-ewwel, qalli ġifieri jien ngħid kien hemm bużieqa u faqaħ insomma, tajjeb biex ħadd ma jimla rasu għal xejn. Però mbagħad qallu wara xi ma kontx naf xi tfisser, qalli issa qalli naturalment imissek tagħmel kelmtejn, tajjeb, qalli mur dritt tkunx twejl, qalli mur dritt għas-sostanza, qalli u jekk jogħġbok toqgħodx tintilef fi kliem fieraħ. Għettu x'fisser? Qalli toqgħodx tgħidli nirringrazzjak u tal-għażla li għamil, qalli mur għas-sostanza. U jiena hekk provajt nagħmel, ġifieri fil-intervent li għamil dak in-nhar tal-konċistorju ma segwejtx biex ngħidlek il-linja tas-soltu, ġifieri diskors ngħidlu hekk tal-okkażjoni, imma ipprovajt ninqeda b'dik il-pjattaforma biex nibgħat messaġġ dwar l-importanza tal-sinodalità fil-Knisja.
Santità, fratelli e sorelle, le drammatiche circostanze che la Chiesa e il mondo stanno attraversando ci sfidano ad offrire una lettura della pandemia che aiuti tutti e ciascuno a cogliere in questa tragedia
anche l'opportunità.
Il-Papa jista' jsejjaħ żewġ tipi ta' konċistorji. Jista' jsejjaħ konċistorju ordinarju jew inkella konċistorju straordinarju. Il-konċistorju ordinarju huwa meta l-Papa jkollu bżonn parir u jsejjaħ lill-kardinali diakni, jiġifieri dawk il-kardinali li jaħdmu fil-Kurja Rumana, jiġborhom fl-awla sinodali jew f'xi sala ta' xi kongregazzjoni u jkun jista' jieħu parir minn għandhom. Meta l-Papa ikollu bżonn jieħu parir ta' iktar delikatezza u serjetà, il-Papa jista' jsejjaħ dak li ngħidulu konċistorju straordinarju. Meta jsejjaħ lill-kardinali kollha mill-erba' tirjieħ tad-dinja itihom data biex jiġu Ruma u jiltaqgħu fil-plenarja tagħhom u jiddiskutu dak il-punt li jkun irid il-Papa.
Can you explain what the sede vacante is all about?
If Rome is the see of Peter and get a see, as we had to learn from my part of the world, in a very difficult, very gradual and difficult way, when we had to do stuff with catechists, who were beginning to learn the language of the church, they interpreted Holy See literally. And see is sight, So they interpreted that as holy vision, But the see is actually seat, So it has nothing to do with vision, has to do rather with a chair, with a throne, or that of Peter. So that's what it is. And therefore the Holy See, so the seat of the church is what we see in St. Peter's Basilica whenever we go there. At the back of the main altar is this image of the three patriarchs, patriarchal figures, holding the seat or the chair or the throne of Peter, as it were, as the prince of the apostles. And then the main altar itself is resting on the tomb. So everything about St. Peter's is about the seat, of the leader. And the seat, again, there are a lot of biblical images that lead to this. From Shebna, in the book of Isaiah, from the seat. So the thing about the Holy See and the seat of Peter is simply an exercise of the seat as a symbol of authority, together with the keys, but also a symbol of service and symbol of governance. As you know, the three activities or the three services or ministries of the bishop is just these three. Order, regendi, administering, taking care, docendi, teaching, and then the serviendi, rendering service to whatever. So these three continue to be the exercises also.
F'sede vakante, ħafna mill-ruoli tal-Kurja Rumana jaqgħu mal-mewt tal-Papa. Meta il-Knisja tidħol f'sede vakante, meta s-siġġu ta' Pietru jkun vojt. Il-Knisja tkun ħadd eleġġi Papa ġdid. Però hemm ukoll eċċezzjonijiet għal dan iż-żmien partikolari għax l-irwoli tal-Kamerlingo, tal-Penitenzjer Maġġuri u tal-Vigarju għall-Belt ta' Ruma dawk l-irwoli ma jaqgħux.
What is the role of the Cardinal Dean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a primus inter pares. It's one, if you want, the leader among equals. If you want, like Peter among the apostles. Is the head and the spokesperson of the cardinals. And as such, he would be communicating messages. If there's any news or whatever that has to be sent out to the cardinals, he would do that. If on the death of a cardinal or the need to convoke or invite cardinals to a conclave, it will be his job to do that. So, and then when we all get together, he will be the one to address the Holy Father and invite the Holy Father to speak to us. So he's like, he's our spokesperson, as it were, whenever we get together. And normally he's assisted by two others, Okay, if they keep it all, then one from the cardinal, the deacon, cardinal deacons, and one from cardinal bishops. So they help them do that job, but it doesn't entail any strong administrative powers or anything like that. No.
Il-Kardinal Dekan jippresidi fuq il-Kulleġġ tal-Kardinali fil-Knisja Kattolika Rumana u jservi bħala primus inter pares, l-ewwel fost l-ugwali. Il-pożizzjoni ġiet stabbilita fil-bidu tas-seklu 12. Huwa dejjem għandu r-rank ta' kardinal fl-ordni tal-isqfijiet u huwa assistit minn viċi dekan. It-tnejn huma eletti mill-kardinali fl-ordni tal-isqfijiet u l-mhumiex patriarki tal-Kattoliċi tal-Lvant, bl-elezzjoni tagħhom soġġetta għal konferma papali. Bħala membru tal-kardinali tal-ordni tal-isqfijiet, il-Kardinal Dekan minn barra l-Knisja Suburbikarja, diġà allokata tiegħu, jirċievi wkoll il-Knisja Suburbikarja ta' Ostia. Il-Papa Franġisku emenda l-mandat indefinit ta' membru elett tal dan ir-rwol għal mandat ta' 5 snin li jista' jiġi konfermat għat-tieni mandat. Il-kardinal ukoll jistaqsi lill-kardinal elett għal papat f'konklavi kif ukoll jistaqsih l-isem li jkun ser jieħu bħala papa.
F'sede vakante, il-Kamerlengo jieħu it-tmexxija tal-amministrazzjoni ordinarja tal-Knisja, blajnuna anka tal-Kongregazzjoni tal-Kardinali. Jagħmel affarijiet oħra l-Kamerlengo bħal pereżempju meta imut il-Papa u jitniżżel mill-Palazz Apostoliku għal ġo San Pietru, jissiġilla il-bibien kollha li jagħtu għadħul taċ-chambers tal-Palazz Apostoliku tal-Papa, tal-residenza tal-Papa. Dan kollu jesiġieħ il-Kostituzzjoni Apostolika tal-1988 il-Pastor Bonis.
It's not frightening. You say it's frightening?
Big responsibility.
Responsibilities are there to be burdened. I think they don't quite always frighten. Just that whenever you're making a first experience of something, you're always, full of anxiety, curiosity, whatever. And happily, you always have the old ones there to watch. So you follow the old ones. But the real challenge inside this, participating in the first conclave, was you were going to do an exercise which will not allow any campaigning. It wasn't an exercise during which cardinals were going to campaign. Vote for me, I am this, I'm that, and that. That wasn't going to happen. And still you had to vote for somebody. And that meant that you had to know people. You had to know the cardinals. And since there wasn't going to be any space for, people presentation or whatever type of thing, you had to do the homework of getting to know the cardinals. Happily, before the conclave, when the Pope died, there were a few sessions, which are always organized.
The congregations.
The congregations to allow, to kind of take stock about the situation of the church at that time and everything that's happened. And that those days of the congregations allowed me to do my homework. That meant that was occasional opportunity for me to try to know the cardinals, because I'll be voting for one of them. And you needed to, so that my vote or my choice was inspired or informed, I needed to put myself to the task of getting to know the cardinals. So every congregation, every day at a congregation, I'll go with a printed list of cardinals and try to match their faces to the pictures I have. So getting to know, this is X and Y, this is his name. Try to, if it was possible, to do a small conversation, to try to. So I try to do that exercise to get to know who the cardinals are, were at that time, who would be going into conclave to whatever, choose a pope. So that exercise I needed to do, because coming from a bishop from Ghana, who has now been working in Rome, the Curia, knowledge of the cardinals wasn't there. You read about them, but you didn't know who exactly was. So I needed to do this exercise to get me informed, about each of the cards, so that at the time of the election, I could vote. So in that sense, the incidence of the conclave brought some assignment. It also got me enlightened about the sharing of the other cardinals about the situation of the church, how they saw the church at that point in time, and what they consider to be the priorities of the church at that point in time.
Il-protodjaknu huwa l-aktar kardinal anzjan fl-ordni ta' djakni u li jaħdem fil-Kurja Rumana. Il-proto-presbiteru huwa l-aktar kardinal anzjan fl-ordni tal-presbiteri u li jservi wkoll bħala arċisqof ta' arċidjoċesi madwar id-dinja. Huwa dmir tal-kardinal protodjaknu li jħabbar l-elezzjoni tal-Papa l-ġdid mill-loġġa ċentrali tal-Bażilika ta' San Pietru fil-Vatikan. Il-protodjaknu u l-proto-saċerdot ser jakkumpanjaw lil Papa li għadu kif ġie elett fl-ewwel ħarġa tiegħu mill-loġġa ċentrali tal-Bażilika ta' San Pietru għall-ewwel messaġġ tiegħu li l-għexieren ta' eluf ta' fidili miġbura fi Pjazza San Pietru.
As you can imagine, it's a very harrowing type of experience. Okay, because that's when it begins to dawn on people what actually has happened. As it's told about Francis, for example, that when they say, may God forgive you for what you have done and all of that. But okay, you can do that and can be understood as a joke, can be understood as a serious observation. But it begins to dawn on you when you go into that room and have to shed your colors and dress newly, and know that this is not something that, like, you're going to say Mass, you go to say Mass, and after Mass you come to undress and put on your whatever. This is not going to be the case. This is going to be your dress forever until you die.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a very harrowing type of experience, and dreadful in a way, and but it also required, like in the case of that of Pope Francis, has a lot of lessons also to teach, because you go in there. And I think, they've set out the place according to tradition. That's what should happen. The candidate comes there, changes his thing, puts on a cassock, puts on an army, puts on, I'm trying to remember this short, whatever. So and then puts on, the cross and all of that, and then. Comes with whatever, changes his skull cap and everything, Then you come out different colors, and you leave whatever you were wearing there. if it's kept anywhere, it's probably to be kept in a museum or someplace for what you were before you became a pope. So the experience, must be a very, like I say, very harrowing type of experience, very terrifying perhaps for some, but a life-changing experience, if you want,
Ir-ruoli oħra koperti mill-kardinali huma dawk tal-penitenzier maġġuri, l-elemosinier, il-vigarju ta' Ruma, l-arċiprieti tal-Bażiliċi Maġġuri Rumani, il-Gran Mastru ta' Ordni Ekwestri tas-Sepulkru Mqaddes ta' Ġerusalemm u l-Patrun tal-Ordni ta' Malta.
L-istituzzjoni kardinalizja ilha tiżviluppa għal dawn l-aħħar 970 sena. Kien hemm pereżempju żminijiet meta l-eletturi f'konklavi kienu 70 biss, b'simboliżmu għas-70 anzjani tal-poplu Ludi li kienu jmexxu lill-poplu Ludi. In-numru baqa' tiela fi żmien Pawlu VI u Ġwanni Pawlu II għal 120. Anzi nista' ngħid, minħabba konċistorji ffullati ta' Ġwanni Pawlu II, in-numru tal-eletturi fi żmien il-pontifikat tiegħu ġieli tela sa 143. L-aktar żvilupp interessanti li nara fil-kulleġġ tal-kardinali huwa l-internazzjonalizzazzjoni tiegħu. Minħabba is-sejħa għall-evanġelizzazzjoni, il-papiet bdew jagħżlu kardinali mill-erba' tirjieħ tad-dinja. Għax aħna sa s-seklu 18 il-kardinali kienu jkunu kollha mill-Ewropa. Imma Piju IX fetaħ dal-bibien għall-Istati Uniti, għal-ċina, għall-Awstralja, għall-Kanada, u l-kardinali bdew jiġu eletti minn daw il-pajjiżi kollha. L-uniku ħaġa komuni f'970 sena tiqpa li l-ewwel dover tal-kardinal huwa li jaħtar il-Papa, li eleġġi l-Papa, jew li kardinal jiġi elett Papa. Jien jew naħtar Papa, jew niġi elett Papa minn ħut il-kardinali dejjem jekk naċċetta l-elezzjoni.